got a little swimming lather going.
Me too. Our hands are pruny. We've been talking swimming and thinking swimming all week long. Today's February 9th, the year 2023. Welcome aboard, everybody. You listen to the Crushing Iron podcast, episode 658.
Yeah, how to not suck at swimming, number 10.
Number 10, we are in the double digits, and we hope it's double digits where you are, at least temperature-wise. It's head of the winter, but a great time to work on your swimming. That's what we'll discuss today. If it's your first time tuning in, welcome. We appreciate you giving us your time. We know you have quite a lot of options in the triathlon podcast universe and just podcasts in general. It sounds very valuable, so we appreciate you tuning in today. We cover it all. We do swim, bike, and run specific podcasts. We do race recaps and also a lot of race previews. But for the most part, Mike and I as coaches, athletes, best friends, we just sit back, relax, have an open and honest discussion about what we're going through in life, not just as human beings, but also as coaches and athletes ourselves. We also talk frequently about what our own athletes are going through. We work with a wide range of athletes all across the globe, from beginner level triathletes looking at their very first sprint or 5K, all the way up through elite little amateurs trying to get back to world championships, and everyone in between from all over the world. And we'll use the feedback loop we have with them and training peaks, emails, text messages, and the like to drive the discussion of the day. We also utilize our Facebook group. You can search that, Crushing Iron Group. Answer one simple question, we'll let you right in. Great community, fantastic resource, awesome people. In a sport that can be very confusing sometimes with a lot of terrible information or just hacks and misinformation, it's a great place to ask questions and get good, honest, actionable feedback. So be a part of that group. Don't be a lurker. Participate. And we take some of the comments and suggestions from the day to talk about our How to Not Suck at Swimming series. But that's it. We don't do sponsors. We don't do ads, but we do have one agenda. And that's to keep you happy and healthy in your endurance sports journey.
Right. And I should let you know our sprint and Olympic beginner plans are all ready to roll. They're on the website. Go there, and I think it's the header's beginner, or you can find it on the coach. It's called the development plan. Mm-hmm. And you can get a sprinter, an Olympic, and weekly video instructions with your plan, along with the beginner's guide and onboarding guide and a mentor. So check that out if you're looking to do a sprint or Olympic first time. These are not just, I mean, they'd be good for if you're not a beginner too, but check it out. If you know somebody who's looking to get into the sport, send it their way, please. And we're giving it away for free. So it's all out there. It's a good program, and we're just trying to get people into the sport and do our part. So we think that's a good place to do it with the beginner races.
Yeah, no, it's a great opportunity. And again, it's designed for those getting into Sprint Olympic. But if you've done some in the past and you feel like you've just not really figured it out or need some help along the way, pop in and help yourself. It's just a great opportunity. And one of the things we're trying to do this year to help grow the sport and from a grassroots level. And before we talk about swimming, I just want to thank everybody again for all the support and the gear standpoint. We had a lot of gear purchases, and that's the best way to support our podcast is go to the website, c26triathlon.com, click on the online store and buy some swag. That's a great way to support us. That and going to iTunes, your favorite podcast platform, and giving us a good review. We hope 657 was a good enough podcast to muster up a few good reviews. But we're going to talk again about swimming today. Honestly, we could probably just do like a Crushing Iron podcast swimming, like a swimming podcast, and still have something about every day. There's so much to talk about, and it's just so hard. And that's why I love talking about it. That's why I'm passionate about it. In last podcast earlier this week, we talked about time and progression. We talked about the drills that don't work and some of the things focused on that do work. We talked about open water anxiety, answered a few questions. Today, I want to start off with one of my favorite topics because you get this question a lot. How to find the right masters group. Traditionally, I've had nothing but hate for masters swim groups because in my experience with them, they are, for triathletes, they are largely a waste of time. However, having said that, there are some great masters swim groups out there, just like anything, right? There are great groups. There are terrible groups. There are great coaches. There are terrible coaches. There's great and poor at everything. The most important thing is finding what's right for you. And the other piece is knowing what to look for and then doing a checklist of what is right for me. One of the biggest issues I have with masters groups, most masters groups, is, I try not to generalize, but is the amount of time they spend doing things that are that don't have a very good ROI for triathletes. They'll do 2,200. They'll be in the pool for an hour and 15 minutes. You're doing 600 yards of kick drills, which takes most triathletes 45 minutes to do anyway, with poor kick form. Yes, there's a coach on deck, but if there's 30 to 40 people in your master's program, right, you're not getting any one-on-one technique work. And if you are getting a tip, you're probably going to hold that new technique for a 25, and then they're back the other end of the pool at lane 7, you're in lane 1, and you don't know if you're doing it right. They do butterfly, breaststroke, backstroke. Most of y'all don't even know how to do freestyle. So doing and wasting time doing other strokes. You get good feel for the water doing backstroke. Agreed. But know how to do backstroke first. And we're still trying to work on freestyle. And then you have like the busy work masters groups where it's like having a substitute teacher. And these are my biggest pet peeves. Yeah, today at masters, we swim at 25. We got out. We did 10 push-ups. That's not a swim workout. That's busy work. That's just fun for people, which is totally fine. But the reason most people go is to get better at swimming. That's just busy work. That doesn't help out your swimming at all. So some great things to look for in a master's group. Communicate with the quote-unquote master's coach, right? And before I say masters again, please understand and realize that masters swim groups they're not labeled masters because they are masters, right? Quote-unquote. They're masters because we're old. Okay, that's just the say. That's how it is. It's older people doing swimming. We just call them masters, makes us feel better about the whole process. Is tell them that you want to swim freestyle. When they swim, when the programming suggests butterfly or backstroke or breaststroke or even kicking, I want to swim freestyle. Is that okay? Yeah, have at it. Keep swimming freestyle. Perfect. Okay. When you guys do 4 100s kick, which I don't have time for. Nor am I kicking very well, nor am I ever going to kick very well. I don't waste my time. Can I swim? Yes. Perfect. If it's saying no, pass. Pass. 100% pass. If they do a lot of busy work to get in the water, pass. If they swim hard and you need the encouragement, go. Masters groups are great if they have great intervals, right? 25s, 50s, 100s. The other biggest benefit, and I suggest plenty of our athletes go to swim groups like maybe once a week for the social aspect. I think the two biggest benefits you get from swimming with other people is the camaraderie, right? Seeing other people when you swim, the motivation to get there because they're going to know if you don't show up, okay? And pushing yourself harder than you would otherwise. We do, in one of our camps in Nashville, we have a swim session. And when I ask people on Saturday or Sunday, what was your most favorite session? It's always at the top. And I'm always mystified because I'm like, what? We swam very, very hard for like an hour. And everyone says it went by fast and I haven't worked that hard in a long time. If you can get in you're around people because they push you. If you can find those things in a master's group, then you should go. Maybe don't go every day because the session isn't going to be tailored to you. It's going to be tailored to a group, right? So maybe go once a week, or if as long as you go have an understanding with the coach that, if they're putting people in a lane that aren't going to do these certain drills, or they're not going to put their fins on for 800 or do these things that are really, for most triathletes, a big waste of time, is to do it once a week, and the other stuff, just go swim on your own. Right. But if you want to push up, you need that social interaction, then go. I'm a huge fan of social interaction. OK, don't just swim alone and stare at the. It's a lonely place. The bottom of the pool is that black line is a lonely place. So those are some great things to look for and then not look for in your local master swim group.
Yeah, I've never been to it, and I never grew up doing it like that. So I agree with you 100%, though, that I see most of the time that if people do a master's group once a week or something, they end up pushing themselves. And then you can kind of gauge and take it into your other workouts by yourself. I think that's probably a huge benefit, is finding that edge a little bit.
Find your edge. It is. It's great because you can do things you wouldn't know you could have done on your own. But then you can take that lesson right? That I can push myself faster. I can go longer for when you are by yourself, but you have to have that experience, right? So I do think it's beneficial in a lot of ways for many triathletes. Second topic for today. Number one, the reasons why you're not getting faster. We talked a little bit about this on the earliest week's podcast, but the biggest one that I see frequently is you don't swim enough. That's just a fact. If you look at the amount of time that athletes swim, or excuse me, how athletes swim versus how much time they put into running and riding, it's so minimal. It's like nothing. So let's say you take the athlete who's preparing for, an Ironman, right? And they're gonna run a 20 miler. So they almost ran the distance. They also did, 3 to 4 runs earlier in the week. So they might run, 50 miles in the week, right? Or over twice the distance, right? They do a couple centuries and also riding during the week. I would say less than 10%, if that, triathletes are going to swim. Again, for a 2.4, are going to swim almost 5 miles in a week. No, you're not. You just don't swim enough. And when you do swim, you're not intentional, right? The best analogy and example I give of most of time wasted at the pool, right, is you go to the pool for an hour, but you're only swimming for 35 minutes. Huge problem. It's like the athlete who goes out, we have these people, we see them on the trace all the time. There's like this one group, this place we ride. There's just one group, and we'll all leave at 6 a.m. and we'll come back at like 10. Every time we see them or drive by a rest stop, they're sitting on a bench having a snack. And we come back and we're like, hey, how was riding? Yeah, it was great. We're like, yeah, we rode for 4 hours. Like, yeah, we did too. Being out and away on your bicycle isn't riding for 4 hours. just like telling yourself, yeah, I had an hour swim today. Did you swim for an hour? No, you probably swam 30 minutes, 30, 40 minutes of actual swimming. Then you take that and you go out for the course of the week. How much are you actually swimming? Most athletes don't swim nearly enough. Again, in the sport that takes the most effort to get better, you don't swim enough. 2, you don't do the right things when you're there. You swim too easy, you take too much break, and you talk too much. It sounds like I'm talking to Hayden. But that's just a fact. You talk too much, you don't get enough done because you don't know what to do, and you think just covering the distance is good enough. Intervals are the least likely used across the 3 sports in swimming. People love to do intervals in the bike. People love to do intervals. I have track Tuesday. Yeah, I'm going to go drop on trainer road and smash myself Tuesday and Thursday. I'm going to do a couple Zwift races. When it comes to pool time, it's like you got a floaty, a pina colada, and you're talking to your best bud on TikTok while you float away. That's how serious most people take swimming. That's just a fact. It's no idea. I got time trial Tuesday at the pool today. What? I'm not coming. I'm not going. Like, I'd rather do something different. They don't swim hard enough. You don't swim with intention. You don't know the purpose to, well, it's not that good. And the reason is, number 3, you don't know what to do to get faster. So you're discouraged, you're frustrated, so you quit. You're doing the distance, you're putting some time in, right? And then you're reaffirming why you're not getting faster because you're not progressing. The biggest thing you can do to improve your swimming is understand your flaw, take the time to focus on it. Take the time to do it right. Okay? That is one of the most important things. Every single session you have should have an intention, a purpose, something to focus on, something to feel, right? Do repeat sets, every Friday, every Monday, whatever it is. Track your time, track fatigue, track your progress, right? Most athletes in the pool have no idea what to do when they get there. And they, I did drills today, I'm still not getting faster. That's not it. That's not it. Going back to pocket Usyk, it's about form and fitness together. Peak your fitness and peak the form. Once they reach the same level, then extend your fitness. Once it's extended, to a good degree, then get your form to match it. Once those are met up again, increase your fitness again, right? But most athletes increase their form, try to increase the distance and the yardage in which they're doing for each set way too often, way too much, and then wonder why they can't hold form. Fitness and then form. And then when they're matched, do fitness again. And when fitness gets to a certain point, add the form again. There's so many things you can do. The other thing, I should have said this before, is stop using so many damn toys. The snorkels, the fins, the pants, everything. It's like people walk in with like a Yeti duffel bag and they take some 75 minutes to unload all the things they do, right? I got this, I got that. Well, hold on a second. I got to put my MP3s in. I got to listen to my tunes, and I got to get my swim cap. I got to get my goggles. Let me get my snorkel attached. Let me lay out my water bottle. Let me lay out my Ziploc bag and my card. Let me lay out my fins. Let me lay out my shorty pants. Let me lay out my pool buoy. I got 3 different sets of paddles. In my kickboard. Let me get all this out. 20 minutes ago, but you could have swam 1,000 by now. And you wonder why you're not getting faster. Because our in every athlete is like this. We always think we're doing more than we really are. Right. And I do this all the time with athletes who talk about struggling in certain areas of getting better, because we're so much a prisoner of the moment. Right. Yeah, things been going pretty good lately. And like, well, then you kind of peer back and you look at the forest, not just the tree, and you're like, well, yeah, but you took 3 months off. When it comes to swimming, keeping feel, continuing to get better has to be you have to keep the momentum over anything else. And yes, I know it takes the most effort, but if you really want to get better at it, and we talked about this on this podcast endlessly about the benefits of coming out of the water feeling like you did nothing. It takes work. So and I'll use the professional athlete as an example. Lionel Sanders, I've talked about it many times before. The guy who keeps saying he's going to get better at swimming. At some point, you have to take away time on the bike and on the run to use that energy, to use that intensity, right? Because I talk about fitness and form and they meet. When you get in the pool, if all you're doing is smashing yourself on the run, is smashing yourself on the bike, and you get to the pool, your fitness, your normal fitness level, so your 100% is your max fitness level. You're walking on the pool deck fresh, and you can hold form for 1,000 or 1,500 meters. If you're doing a ton of riding, you're doing a ton of running, you're not going to the pool with 100%. Maybe going at like 70, and then your max ability to hold form isn't 1,000 or 1,500. It's like 600 or 800. But what are you going to do? 1,000, 1,200, 1,500 like you normally do, and you're going to do form wrong. So you're spending more time, because you're not taking rest, you're spending more time implementing and concreting bad habits over your good habits. So if you're trying to do things correctly, you stop doing them incorrectly. Right? So if you find yourself fading on form, if you find yourself, body positioning, going down or becoming imbalanced and dragging your feet, put a pull buoy into your legs. Focus on your fitness, because a great stroke and a great stroke pattern, a great catch helps your body position. Do those things, and if you feel like you're not getting faster.
All right. While we're here, I have a thought. I wanna really kind of look at this idea of how to gauge if you're getting faster, because a lot of times what you'll see is like, hey, I actually had a 50 in there that was 42.3 seconds or whatever. And whenever I think of that, as a guy who's not a big flip turn guy or any of that kind of stuff, and you can like in the pool, I feel like you can kind of cheat it a little bit, right? If I'm really going for my fastest 50 or 100 or whatever, I'll push off and and then I'll see the number and feel great about it for just a second. But I know that that's not real, kind of. There's obviously open water swimming, for me, I'm not a quick turner. So I know that in open water, if I'm stronger and I can keep going, I'm probably making up a little time on that if I'm going straight, right? But like it's sort of like saying, yeah, I just cranked out a 50-yard dash record or whatever, and you're trying to do an Ironman. Like, how relevant can that be at some point? So for me, I like to really just loosely kind of keep an eye on things while I'm building throughout the summer. And maybe last year would do sets of like maybe 6 or 8 500s, right? And then I'd be like, okay, my 6th 500 set is as fast, if not faster, by a few seconds. That, to me, that's how I kind of gauge if I'm getting faster. And of course, I'm feeling stronger or whatever too. So those things all kind of come together. But I mean, is there something you kind of look at as a benchmark? Because, I just think, trying to gauge it on a 50 is just kind of like, I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, I'm getting faster. Is it, or even 100 at some point, unless that 100 is like at the very end of a huge set.
This is such a great topic, and it kind of segues into tips to be faster in open water, because there is such a huge difference in being fast in the pool versus being fast in open water. And I mean, you brought up such a great point. If you know how to do a flip turn, like I can see such a dramatic difference in what they call working your turns. So I'm going in the wall hard, and I'm pushing off hard, and I'm kicking off hard. I could, just from a turn standpoint, I can go from a 120/100 to about a 112 just from working my turns.
Yeah.
Does that have any takeaway for open water fitness? Zero. Zilch. Nada. But people try to use that as their benchmark. When I do flip turns and I'm training, and I can still go below, right around 30 for a 50 and around 105 to 107 for 100. When I am swimming, endurance swims, even hundreds, I do flip turns, and I can do flip turns as good as anybody. Not anybody, but I'm very proficient at flip turns. I swam year round growing up, so I know how to do them, fortunately. I do flip turns like Hayden did when he was 4 trying to pick up sticks in the bottom of the pool. I am so lazy and so easy with them because they don't matter. But by going off the wall easy, I get to work on my acceleration. And what I learn about myself and what I tell the athletes that I work with is you can learn more about your body and forcing it to accelerate from a slower speed and speeding up than you can by being at a speed, right? It's like telling somebody to run on a flat versus run on an escalator that's moving. It is a huge difference. And I am legit faster for distance in open water than I am in the pool. And one of the biggest things you see with athletes is they push off the wall so hard in the pool that they are, I don't want to say cheating, but your handicap is like 4 to 6, 7 seconds, like of what your real time is, because you're just not that fast. You're not open water fast. You're using the wall fast, right? And it's just, there's a huge difference in how you approach turns, and kind of I'll call it false positive, really, for athletes. And like I said about ways to monitor progression. Again, if you're starting out the year and you're doing you're doing 130s, for 1,000, right? Or you're doing your intervals on 130. Because there's a couple ways to translate fitness and look at fitness. And for me, open water fitness is all about, not really who slows down the least, but how strong of a swimmer you are. How fast can you go while maintaining control and being aerobic? For most, right? Olympic 70.3s, fulls, you want to swim aerobic no matter how fast you're really trying to go, because you don't want to get your heart rate. Your heart's going to be up anyway. You want to keep it aerobic, which is also why I think breathing anything over, every stroke is ridiculous. It's not a breath holding competition. And most people are slower with it in the open water specifically. Look right, look left, look right, look left, now sight in front. Like, what? No, breathe sight if you need to, or breathe sight. But there's, you're looking for fatigue resistance in the pool. So let's say, a couple of things to gauge your performance and how you're translating from swimming to open water is, do hundreds on a repeat, right? So let's say, or on an interval. So let's say you're doing hundreds on 150. Doing hundreds on 150 means you're doing the 50, or excuse me, you're doing hundreds on 150. You're doing the 100, and then you have until it goes to a minute 50 on the clock to start your next one. So let's say you do a 130, you're getting 20 seconds rest, right? And the next one you're getting down to 135, you're getting 20 seconds rest. Do a set of 2100s. If it can get to a point to where you can do all at 130 or low and you're getting 20 seconds more rest, then you're progressing. Then if you keep, going at 140, 145, and you're only getting 5 seconds rest, you don't need to add more. You need to keep doing those, or maybe even give yourself more rest because you're not getting enough to do it right the next time. Once you get to the point to where you're holding 130s, did you get faster? Well, yes. If you want to do an all-out time trial, you probably did get faster. But the biggest thing for you is your fatigue resistance got significantly better You're getting adequate recovery. You're being more aerobic. You're not, it's not treating as a real interval. You're just holding form, right? Another thing you can do is swim continuously and track that, right? At a certain effort. How does this feel? How am I holding it from a muscular endurance standpoint? Again, most people get in the pool and they don't do enough intervals, or they do too many intervals and not enough long stuff to marry it together. Again, fitness and form combined with, muscular endurance. They don't do that enough. Open water is all about strength. Speed is not irrelevant, but for most people, it should be an afterthought. It should be 100% about how strong can I be in open water. Upper body strength, not kicking, right? Most people kick way, way, way too much. And the sad part is your kick is probably terrible. And in fact, it's probably slowing you down. Kicking is about balance, not about propulsion. Kicking is about balance, not about propulsion. Before you even worry about your kick, adding in balance with your body from the waist up, period. Keep your legs still. Don't have them thrashing around, right? Body still, open water, strength. That means pull buoy work in the pool, band work. Pull buoy and band is great. I talked about it, I think, before. Is it keeps your lower body still, allowing you to kind of plow through the water with upper body only. That is a great, but I'm going to be slower in the pool. You don't race in the pool. You don't do your 2.4 miles in the pool. You do them in open water, possibly against the current, right? With the wetsuit on or in open water for the most part. Learn how to swim strong, right? And that's a huge disconnect with a lot of athletes and what it takes and looks like to swim strong. They care more about what their pool pace is than their open water pace. Again, you can also track, for 1,000, nonstop, I was able to hold 135s. And then a couple months later, you did 2,500 or 3,000 on the same time. Did you get faster and fitter? Yes. You held form for a longer period of time and you didn't lose speed. In order to get better, you have to be very specific and understand what I'm trying to actually work on in the pool. Do you want to be a better pool swimmer or a better open water swimmer? And don't come at me like they're the exact same. It's like telling me road cycling and mountain biking are the exact same. They're not. They're similar, but the training is very different. It's just like training for an Ironman versus training for ITU racing. Very different training in terms of the specificity. And that's very much like open water swimming. It's about force. It's about feel. It's about upper body. If you have great body, and this is a great test for athletes to do. If you have great upper body strength and you have great balance and you're in great form, you should be able to tie a band around your ankles and swim from one end of the pool to the other while keeping your body high. But I thought kicking was to keep your body high. No, kicking doesn't keep your body high. For most people, kicking just makes you go slower, and it's like an anchor to the rest of your body. You can control your balance and your where you sit, your height in the water with your core, just by body awareness. And fins work for some people, but for a lot of people they don't, because it gives you a false sense of what you're getting in return for your effort to kick. For when people put on fins, the best thing they get from it is the amount of time and how easy it makes it to swim, so you can take more time to focus on your stroke or to focus on your actual catch. But open water is about strength, and it's about using as much of your upper body as possible, your smaller muscles, not your leg muscles, right? People, you go in the pool and you're thrashing with, your legs, and they're just such giant muscles, your quads, your hamstrings, your calves, they require so much blood, so much oxygen, right? Then you go hypoxic in like 2 seconds, and now you're in the middle of the ocean or the middle of the lake, right? And you're toast. And you wonder why your heart rate is sky high. And then you wonder why you can't bike at the same power level, right? There's just so many things you can do to be able to swim aerobically, but it's a huge disconnect in how people want to PR in the pool versus being productive in open water, right? And it goes back to, kicking as fast as you probably can. That's useful for a 25 or a 50. But for a 400, you're smoked. And then good luck biking. You're smoked. You are smoked. And it has to be something, again, And it does. It all goes back to, the last topic, and we even covered it earlier this week, is just understanding and knowing the purpose of what you're doing every time you enter the pool, and then why it's good and why it matters and the progression moving forward. It can't just be, I think I'm gonna go to the pool. Then you're not getting any faster. Paddles are great. Paddles, pool buoy, band. That's kind of like our staple. That's a staple for most people. And then focusing on your catch, using paddle work intermittently. You should, paddles aren't to make you go faster. Paddles are to increase feel in your forearm and slow you down to where you can think about your catch long enough, right? That's, to me, that's the biggest thing with the pool buoy and paddles, is it slows you down. It slows down your heart rate, so you're not so hypoxic, so you can hold form for a longer period of time. Like if you think about the crossover and swimming and cycling and running, and how people have so many different approaches to cycling and running, and how they're very similar. You do the distance, you do intervals, you have certain rest intervals, you're always pushing yourself. People swim the total exact opposite. They don't focus on anything. They do as little as possible, right? The cycling and running, you usually can't. You got to stop people from doing too much. In the swim, it's like I'm trying to get you to do it more, and you got to work in phase. And then when opportunity arises, do long sets, like race specific periods. Do 500s, 600s, 800s, long tempo, efforts. I don't want to do that. No, it's true. And we can wrap it up here in a minute, but when it comes to swimming, you have to have an honest conversation with yourself. For most of your life, you probably didn't swim. You're playing catch up. And if you're playing catch up, you have to do more. Are you doing more, or are you doing as little as possible? And if I am doing as little as possible, why am I expecting to get more out of what I'm doing? If I want to get more out of what I'm doing, how can I do that? All right, this is how I do that. I work on my fitness, then I blend in the form. Then I work on fitness again, then I blend in the form. And I do that over and over and over and over again through specific, periodized, focused blocks that go in progression. Now, that sounds good. I'm going to do that. Now, do I have the patience to stick with it? Or do I find myself just not wanting to go to the pool? There's zero reason, why anyone shouldn't be able to swim below 2 minutes for 100. It just is. With the fitness, with the aerobic capacity most people have in this sport, there is no reason why you don't have the potential to do that. To swim it. It's just about sticking with it, knowing what you're doing, knowing what it's supposed to do, knowing how it pieces together, knowing, how it progresses. There's no reason. And so if you're a person out there that's just frustrated where I can't do this and I can't do that, we always think we do more than we do. That's just human nature, right? We all think very highly of ourselves when it comes to stuff. And you look at things and you're like, okay, maybe you look at the facts. Then you're like, okay, maybe I haven't done that. Yeah, I'm swimming a lot. Are you swimming a lot and not getting any better because you're practicing the right form? Maybe. Yeah, I'm swimming a lot and doing like an hour and a half each time. I'm not getting any better. Okay, then maybe you're swimming too much, right? Going back to what I said before, if you're literally swimming an hour and a half, it's probably like a 5,000 for a lot of people, or 4,000. How much of that time is spent on doing it correctly? Or so are you spending an hour and a half, 3 days a week? So you're looking at 4.5 hours. You're talking, how much of that 4.5 hours am I actually doing the correct form the right way? And if I am doing correct form and I've maxed out, right, my form and my fitness from the endurance standpoint, well, then it's time for me to scale it back and work on fitness. In order for me to do that fitness, maybe it's not an hour and a half. Maybe it's going back to 30, 40 minutes where I'm doing 50s, 50, 40, maybe even 60 50s on a minute. Right? And I'm just burning rubber. I'm trying to increase my ceiling, my VO2 max. I'm trying to increase my anaerobic ceiling. Nah. I don't want to swim hard. I'm good. It's like you have to ask those questions. Like, people are so serious and focused when it comes to periodizing and intervals and lactate and what's my VO2 max on the bike and, where's my threshold track sessions on the run. You don't do shit when it comes out in the pool. We just want to get in with our noodles and our fins and our snorkels and our pants. And by the time you get in there, you're looking like, my first grader at wacky day at school day. Like what? You got to go with purpose. You got to know what you're doing. You got to take it seriously, just like the time you take to do everything else, right? You can take 45, 50 minutes to set up your smart trainer and troubleshoot. But when it comes time to get in the pool, you won't wait 10 minutes for the guy to get out to wait for your lane. You go sit in the hot tub, you sit in the sauna, you come back on Wednesday. I don't know why I'm not getting faster. Think about it. Look across 3 sports. Look at the time and effort you put in, and the focus and the attention on the intervals and the periodization and the length and the testing and all those things. And you ask yourself if you do them in the pool. 99 times out of 100, you're going to answer no, I don't. And if the answer is no, I don't, then make the answer yes, I am, and yes, I will. And then guess what? Not only are swimming get faster, not only get better and more efficient, but when swimming is faster and swimming is more fun, you're going to do it more. If you do it more, you're going to get even better. And getting even more better makes your cycling and your running even faster. I'll end it on this. Going back to what I said about spending so much time running and riding, going to the pool with less energy, same thing goes for race day. But it goes for the cycling and the running. You get out of your 1 mile swim, your 800 meter swim, your 1.2 mile swim, your 2.4 mile swim. You actually swam the whole time. No walls, no breaks, no chit chats, right? Focused swimming. If you're lucky and you're a great sighter, you swam the exact distance, not 300 meters more, right? You're going to get out of the water and you're going to be fatigued. So you're all the effort and all the time and all the obsession about the cycling metrics and the testing and the racing and whatever it is, same things for the run. You're not going to see anywhere close to those numbers. They're all going to be less. And it's all because you chose to only focus on 2 and be a duathlete instead of focus on 3 to be the best triathlete you can be. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
Yeah. As an adult onset swimmer, what I find is a lot of times I'll go to the pool and I'll, warm up on the side and I'll be looking at people swimming and I can literally see them thinking and the gears turning and their hesitation and trying to be perfect. I made a big breakthrough when I got to a point when I was like, all right, I'm just going to be a swimmer. And I'm going to work at it. I'm going to work the best form I have right now, and I'm going to work it hard and get fit. And over time, you can have that strength and be able to hold better form and just kind of bring it together. And I get that from swimming a lot. And, my form comes and goes, and it isn't locked into my DNA over the years, but it's getting there, and it takes a while. And you're right. You just got to work at it, man. You just got to get to the pool and really work at it seriously. I mean, you've talked about it before. You should be swimming. If you're not a good swimmer and you want to get better, you should be swimming more days than you're not and going after it and not overthinking every damn stroke. Just go out and be long and strong and work from your lats and your hips and reach for those cookies on top of the fridge.
Reach for the cookie jar.
Back and forth. Cookies.
Back and forth.
There's your mantra. Cookie.
That's right. That's how Coach Meyer used to teach us how to shoot at the Lipscomb basketball camps back in the day.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. Pop and lock, reach for the cookie jar. And that ended up because I suck at basketball. As always, we love you. We appreciate you. Hope you got some value out of this. And hopefully you gave it a little swift kick in the mesh Speedos to get you back in the pool and be purposeful with your swimming. It matters. You're a triathlete. Swim hard so you can ride and run easier. We love you. We appreciate you. We'll see you next week. As always, go to our website, c26triathlon.com. It's our one-stop shop for all things coaching, camps, and community. If you have any questions or need anything specifically from Mike, he is available, CrushingIron@gmail.com. If you need anything from me specifically, c26coach@gmail.com.
All right, buddy. I will see you down in the lobby.
See you, dude.
All right.